Right now is the most important moment in your life.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Not yesterday.
Not tomorrow.
And what are you doing in the now to positively affect your universe?
I'm a mother.
Great friend.
I'm a partner.
I'm a breast cancer survivor.
I'm a woman.
And I'm a geek.
I'm serious.
The show that asks you, do you own your now? Michael Billy is an actor, a singer, a self-taught musician, a film producer, radio and television host. He's been a social activist since he was 16. He's been featured in magazines, Teen People's Most Influential People Under 25, the New York Times What to Watch list. He's received awards from the Human Rights Campaign, the National Education Association. He's given his unique perspectives on shows like the Alex Bennett program, the Me and Vinny program on Sirius XM Radio. He's also made appearances on primetime news for headline news. He's currently produced a film called The One, featuring himself also as a co-star. And I'm so pleased to welcome Michael Billy to the Now. Michael, thanks so much. So you've traversed all these different disciplines: drama, voice, film, television, radio. Where did this start? I mean, I know you're a Jersey boy.
Yeah.
Tell me about the early days, the formative years of Michael Billy.
God, when I was a kid, my mom was embarrassed always because what I would do is I would hear somebody's voice, and I would mimic the person and regurgitate everything they were saying and mimic their accents and their personas. And my mom always, she was one of the few people that I've ever talked to, of so many people in the arts, that always said, you should be a comedian, you should be on TV. Never once said to me, you should be a doctor, you should be a lawyer. Maybe she thought I was dumb, I don't know. But she always thought that I should be in front of the camera. She loved to laugh. And she had a little bit of a tragic, her life was her parents died a month apart when she was 14. So she didn't have a very good, solid upbringing. And I think our bond was that she loved to laugh, and even when it was the most evil, dark, weird thing that came from my head, there was always her to snicker, to let me know that no one else is laughing. But
Mom is Austrian and Jewish.
Yes.
Your dad is Italian and Catholic.
Yes.
But wait, there's more. You're Colombian.
Uh-huh.
And you were adopted, right?
I was. When I was a little boy, my favorite time of the year was summer, because it was the only time of the year that my mom would tan enough that we looked similar. I remember wanting to, not understanding skin color when I was a little kid. I remember feeling dirty, like I had dirt on me. Like, I remember wanting to scrub it off. I remember not wanting, not understanding why I didn't look like my mom and my dad. So early on, it was this feeling of, you're a little different, ugly duckling, and then oddly enough, with being gay and all those things that fell afterwards, it was that sort of repeated message. So going into sort of the early adolescence, you had a pretty traumatic moment in your life, and it seemed to have really affected the course of your career and your goals. I think you were 14. Tell me a little bit about it. The story is, I was 14 years old, freshman in high school, and I was walking back to the school after lunch, and a group of 12 students, I think the police report says 12 students, a dozen students came up behind me and, are you the faggot? Is that the faggot? So they took my book bag and they threw it on the floor, and I thought that was going to be it. And they ended up pinning me to a fence, and then taking shots at me, at my body. And when they were done, they dropped my body to the floor. I thought that was going to be it, but they were emptying a garbage pan. And I heard this, and it was actually the sound of a metal garbage pan scraping across the cement. And they lifted my body up into the air, and they were attempting to put my body in the trash can to roll me down the stadium stairs.
Wow.
That's what happened. And they didn't even know I was gay. They just thought I was gay. That was enough.
Right.
They thought I was gay, so let's go.
So during that time, during that moment, you heard faggot, I assume. You heard them yelling it. And
Yeah. It's like hearing Michael in a mall. Like, yes, yes, yes. What killed me that day was the actual action.
Mm-hmm.
I think very few people get their dignity taken away from themselves and get to live afterwards and tell people about it.
Mm-hmm. So, how did this sort of spark the activist in you? I know that over the years, immediately following that, you then started to speak out about issues around human rights, personal rights,
Yeah.
and connecting with schools. Did that moment, was that the impetus for you to get active?
It was how it was handled. The school let it somewhat go underneath the carpet, sweep it under the carpet, and that really annoyed me because after the assault, I went back into the hospital for suicide again, came back out, and once I got my life back together, I was so angry that it wasn't a big deal. I felt like I lost a year of my life. I was almost killed, and nobody cares. Not for my sake, but it can happen to anybody. They
Right.
thought I was gay. They didn't know I was
Right.
gay. So this type of thing could happen to anybody, and that really angered me. And I wanted to speak to somebody.
So you got active and you started speaking in schools, and it wound up being across the country. Tell me about that sort of movement for you.
I have had an amazing life of being blessed enough to meet so many thousands upon thousands of students, kids, parents, families all over the country. And that still is the most amazing time I've ever had. It was the greatest gift. To be able to go to people and talk to them about hope and changing their lives and taking the negatives of life and making it to a positive, that has always been the greatest thing.
But how did you start it?
My gym teacher is stereotypically a lesbian. My gym teacher was a lesbian, and she knew what had happened to me. So she asked me to speak at a conference upstate, and I was 16 years old. The keynote speaker was Kevin Jones, who was the head of GLSEN, the Gay and Lesbian Straight Education Network, a fantastic organization. And my job was to go on before Kevin and talk about what had happened to me for the first time. First time ever. And I said my story, a standing ovation, and Kevin went on, who was the leader of the gay rights movement at that point, and said to the press, "I believe we've met our first gay president." And from that point on, the press and everybody loved me. They wanted me to speak at their school, in high school and colleges. I went on to lecture and do all the television shows.
So weren't you brought to the White House at some point?
Yes, that year.
Right,
That year as well.
right.
Oh, how soon we forget. Kevin had called me. It was after Matthew Shepard had died. President Clinton wanted to call a White House conference on school safety. So they wanted the major players of the gay rights movement to go to Washington and have this big meeting with Attorney General Janet Reno and meet the president and stuff like that. And they called me to do it. 16 years old.
Wow.
Way out of my league. No concept of what the White House was. No concept of what I mean, I knew
Right.
who these people were, but I never knew for the rest of my life this would be the thing that everybody would want to talk about. How this little kid went and had lunch with the president and Mrs. Clinton. So I get off the plane, and the first thing they tell me is we're going to go to I believe it was the Pentagon, and have our meeting with the Attorney General, which I still can't talk about, by the way. The rules are you can't speak about the meeting. I can just say that I went to the meeting. I can't say she's freakishly tall.
I think many others have.
And after the Pentagon, they said, "Would you like to speak in the National Vigil tonight before Ellen?" And I said yes. And the following day, we did the White House. I think I've been able to see a really, really horrifically dark side of life and people and how they can be towards other people. And the Vigil was an opportunity to see people at their best.
Right.
You know, gay, straight,